ourselves with our feet held to each other's fire.
This Saturday's special sitting by heads of state under the IGAD umbrella was unique and symbolic for the nation of Somalia, whose representative at the summit, Mohammed Abdullahi Mohammed, was recently elected president. With a new leadership which enjoys both local and international support, Kenya had the opportunity to state its case of having Somali refugees get back home and rebuild their lives in the country of their birth or ancestors' birth.
Is that the time for lasting solutions is now. A refugee camp was never meant to be a permanent home, nor is being a refugee a promise of losing your citizenship and your country. For more than 2 decades, more than 400,000 Somalis have been hosted at the Dadaab Refugee Complex. And during this time, the camp has been operating on a fraction of the resources it requires.
With that declaration, the leader of Somalia's closest neighbor, which has played host to Somali citizens for over 25 years, insisted that Kenya is not looking back on its deal.
Move on it and keep ourselves with our feet held to each other's fire.
The European Union agrees with Kenya and states that it is important for the international community to move as a bloc to ensure that they shoulder some of the burden that host communities with large refugee populations have endured for years.
We need also to stabilize.
The African Union has applauded the IGAD bloc for hosting Somali refugees, but while Kenya is ready to let go, the leadership of the Union has asked her to consider the humanitarian situation in the region.
As the Somali people, both the internally displaced persons and the returnees are facing shortage of food, clean water, and health services. I reiterate my appeal to the African countries first and the international community to help the Somali people.
It is a famine even here in Kenya. And so we are all considering those factors and seeing the drought is really ravaged the whole of this, is the Horn of Africa. We don't think that will be a problem. We are putting in the modalities. We are not closing the camp tomorrow. We are just putting the modalities. One of the modalities is how can we secure Somalia? How can we stabilize Somalia so that it will be conducive for the citizen to go back?
The new Somali president applauding the efforts of IGAD states in hosting Somali refugees, but asking for financial, infrastructure and logistical support to enable his people get back home to a decent lifestyle.
About 2.5 million Somali refugees and IDPs live in camps in and out of the country. Tragically, some have lived in the camps for 3 generations. All because the environment was not conducive enough in Somalia for them to return. That said, many have voluntarily returned over the past few years as conditions in their regions have improved gradually.
The international community has on various occasions pleaded with Kenya to reconsider its position with the Kenyan court, having delivered a judgment that asking refugees to leave is unconstitutional.
We don't appeal to something which a non-issue. I think the court gave a ruling on a non-issue because we were not closing the camp forcefully.
Ethiopia extending a helping hand at the forum.
Ethiopia remains committed to keeping its door open to all seeking international protection.
But even as the international community continues to raise concerns over the quality of life of those being repatriated back into Somalia in terms of the drought being experienced there and security, Kenya now says that the time for those Somali refugees to rebuild their lives inside Somalia is now. Leila Mohammed, NTV, Nairobi.